This video is part of a series that is designed to support the Audible version of deploying Microsoft Dynamics 365 Sales and Service, which is available on both Audible and Amazon.com. I'll be sure to include links to all versions of the book in the description of this video. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. As we mentioned in the book, one-click document generation can be used instead of reports or SSRS. It's a fairly simple process, relatively speaking, because you don't have to be a programmer to do it, is the first thing. The steps are simple. Step 1, download a template. Step 2, map the fields. Step 3, upload the template with those fields mapped. We'll demonstrate that next. Since we're going to be talking about collateral entities, let's discuss quotes. Quotes are a good example because people very often do need to create quotes and print them out. I'm going to go ahead and open up a quote in Microsoft Dynamics 365, and you'll see here that I can create a PDF of this quote. If I wish to, quote summary, and I can either save or download this quote. I'll go ahead and save it so that I don't have to download anything. And it says your quote summary was saved to the timeline. So that's fine. I generated a quote from this. Let's take a look at that. So here's the quote summary PDF. I'm going to go ahead and open it up just so we can take a quick look at it. And as you can see here, this is an extremely simplified version of a document that was generated out of Microsoft Dynamics. So what this video is about is not so much creating PDFs in this simple way. It's more about the ability to download a template and use a template. So in order to do that on most entities in Dynamics, you can click on the ellipses here and you can go to Word Templates. And you can see from Word Templates we have a few different things that we can do. We can upload a template, we can download a template, and there happens to be already created a Word template which matches what we just saw, because you can see it's called quote summary. So what we'll do is we will download a template. So let's just download this template. And what's interesting about this is that when you decide to download the template, you may decide that you need to create a relationship. That is to say, you may need to be able to leverage some of the fields on the related entities to this. So if I select a one-to-N relationship, a good example of a one-to-N relationship for this particular entity would be the line items on the quote. So we'll come down until we find those quote products. That's really what they're called in this case. So I definitely want to choose that. I want to choose that one-to-many relationship. That way that on any document that I generate, I can use the fields from that relationship. The N-to-one relationship, I'd also definitely like to have a look at that, because I can see here that we've got things from the opportunity we can take and also from the potential customer. So at the very least, I'm going to want to grab the potential customer. So when they say N-to-one relationship, by the way, that means a lookup field. So these are lookup fields. Potential customer and opportunity are two examples. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, I'll go ahead and choose the, I'll come down here until I find the potential customer. And in this case, it's going to be organization, which is the account. And it's also going to be a person, because in some cases the potential customer can be a person, and in other places it can be an organization. Bear in mind that in this particular instance of Dynamics, we've renamed the account entity to organization and the contact entity to person. So you don't let this confuse you. Look at the relationship. The relationship is the most important. Quote customer accounts, quote customer contacts. That's the most important thing. That's essentially these two N-to-one relationships are really representing that potential customer right there. And we're also going to go ahead and grab the opportunity as well. So now we have information that we can pull from all of these. Okay, there's other things, as you can see, we can pull, but there's nothing here. There's really nothing. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I can say that the user of the owner might be, system user for quotes might be useful because you might want to put the person's name on it that owns the quote. Okay, so now we've got quite a few, we've got several relationships. We've got a one-to-many, we've got several end-to-one. There aren't any end-to-end relationships really that could possibly help in this particular case, but there is sometimes an additional contact that you can create if that's something that you would want to work with, maybe a stakeholder, something like that. We'll just try to keep it a little bit simpler, and we'll go ahead and download this. So now we've done that, and now we're going to go ahead and open it up in Word. We'll just automatically open it right up. So the first thing, of course, we have to do, obviously, is click Enable Editing. All right, so what's interesting about this is that we have here basically a blank canvas. So we have this special template that we just downloaded. It's just a blank canvas. But what's really important, there are fields that we can pull from the database and map them into objects that we create on this form or on this document. First thing we have to do in order to make that even happen is we have to modify our ribbon. So I'm going to go to Customize the Ribbon, and I'm going to find the Developer tab, and I'm going to activate it. And there it is right there. I'm activating that Developer tab. That's absolutely critical that we do that. And you might not have that done in your instance of Word, so click OK, and then suddenly now we have the Developer tab. Now, we have a Developer tab, and that means we have what's called an XML Mapping Pane. So here's the XML Mapping Pane. Now, the XML Mapping Pane is very interesting because it provides some sort of mapping that we can do both within the document but also with respect to Microsoft Dynamics. And you'll see here, if you come down here carefully, what you're going to be looking for. You're going to see plenty of open XML formats, and that's just for another discussion. What's really important right now is this Microsoft CRM document template quote. That's the key right there. So I click that, and you'll see what happens is now I have this document template. I've got the quote. Now watch this. I've got all these fields that actually are on the quote. This is data that's in Microsoft Dynamics that's on the quote, right? Under the quote entity. All the fields we could imagine, database fields, so they look a little bit different than what you might expect. And then, remember those relationships? Those relationships are expressed down here in the lower right. So the one-to-many relationship with the quote details is here, and there they are. These are fields from the one-to-many relationship with quote details. Here's the fields from the opportunity that I can pull into my document. And here is the fields from the account or organization in my instance. All the fields on the account that I can pull in and use on this document. Also contacts and also the system user. So if I need my own personal full name to be placed on this document somewhere, I can do that. Now you might ask how it is that we are supposed to make use of this. So I'm going to tell you that from experience that the best way to do it is to use tables. It really is to use tables because then you can structure where the data will come in. So for instance, I'll just start with a title and I'll just say quote. All right. So now if I want to bring a field over, okay, I'm going to, for instance, bring, let's say, the customer name over, the potential customer, right? So what I want to do is I want to, I'm going to go ahead and insert a small table, and I can get rid of I'll just go ahead and say there's 2 columns and a couple of rows. So this table, of course, can be made invisible if I come in and remove all these lines. But the most important thing is just to be able to bound your data, so to speak, and organize it appropriately. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in customer name, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I am going to go to the quote, and I'm going to go ahead and insert content control, and I always want to use plain text. I don't want to use rich text. I'm going to use plain text, and I insert it right there. And so now I've got the customer name as sort of a data field right here. And I can use sort of the table to sort of structure and just, by maybe through trial and error, because you got to see what this looks like. But the important thing is that I just inserted that. And so now I'm going to say customer address. I'm going to show you there's a couple different ways to do this. So I just went ahead and chose count ID name. That gives me the name of the customer right off the quote. But now let's just do the customer address, because we do not have a customer address on our quotes. We have bill to and this and that, but what we have is we need to go and find that customer, right? And in our case, that customer would have been here, quote customer accounts, and then we want the address of that customer. So I'm going to go ahead and go address 1 line, street address 1 line 1, and I'm going to put in the plain text. And now I've got the first line, and then I can come over here, put the cursor right here. I can put in line 2. I can insert content control, and then you can see I'm keeping my structure here. I can put in the city, address 1 city, and then I can get my cursor out, put a space in, comma, and then I can go address 1 state or province. And here it is. And now this is where you may want to just bound this like so. Play around a little bit with this. You can structure your data, and then perhaps press the arrow key to get out of that bound box, and then put in a zip. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll delete this entire column. I'll stick with what I got right now. Move this over, have a space, and I'm going to put in the zip. So I've got address 1 postal code, plain text. All right, so needless to say, you can create a complete customized Word document and insert the values that you have in your database to be pulled down. But what I want to do first is I just want to show the process of saving this and then uploading it back into the system. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click Save, Save As. I'm going to go ahead and put this as quote template. I've got my template. Now I'm going to minimize. Now what I'm going to do is go right back where I was over here. I'm going to go to Word Templates. I'm going to go to Upload Template and upload it. Personal template is created. It's done. I refresh the page. And now what I'm able to do is I'm able to go to Word Templates, and now I see that I have my own. Instead of quote summary up here, I have my own. I run it. I'll open it with Word. Now you can see in this very simplistic demonstration that I was able to pull the data out of Dynamics and into my template. And that's essentially the way that you will go about this. You'll download the template, you'll map your fields, you'll create your document any way you want with graphics, doesn't matter, anything you need to do. And you'll insert that data, and then you'll end up with something that can be pulled down and used that isn't just boilerplate. It'll be completely customized by yourself. That's the basic fundamental how-to, and I hope that helps.